Where do you think movies got the idea of superhumans? From real life, because there are people doing things that are supposed to be impossible.
This is so crazy.
Real people with superhuman strength, unbelievable feats caught on camera, and certain people having powers. Watch till the end, because the last one is the hardest to believe. A CCTV camera on a quiet street in Ranchi, India, caught something unexpected. Late at night, a man was walking across the road when a car came speeding straight toward him. There was no time to jump back or run. Just before the car reached him, a sudden flash of light lit up the street, and in that instant, he disappeared from one side and reappeared safely on the other. The whole thing happened in less than a second. If this hadn't been caught on camera, nobody would have believed a person could move like that. Ghost Walker. A security guard reviewing CCTV footage from a convenience store in Detroit, Michigan, froze when he saw something impossible on the screen. Late at night, on the 30th of January, 2016, a man wearing a hooded jacket approached the store's closed glass door and walked straight through it, as if the glass wasn't even there. Moments later, he reappeared, stepping back out through the same solid door with a pack of snacks in his hand. It looked as though the man had some strange ability to pass through solid objects. What do you think? Bruce Lee's nunchucks. You may have seen a clip online showing Bruce Lee, the legendary martial artist and actor, standing in front of a man holding a bow and arrow, catching the arrow mid-air with his bare hand. That clip was staged for television, but this next one, filmed in Los Angeles, California, in the late 1960s, was completely real. In it, Bruce Lee faced off against a ping-pong player, using only a pair of nunchucks to strike the ball back across the table with incredible speed and precision, defeating his opponent without ever missing a single hit. Hands of Steel. On the 11th of January 2023, two friends at a street food stall in Dhaka, Bangladesh, saw something shocking. A man stood over a pan of hot oil and used his bare hands to flip and stir the food without showing any pain. He kept touching the boiling oil as calmly as if his hands were made of steel. One friend recorded the scene and shared it online. A commenter suggested that people who do this often develop thick, leathery calluses on their palms over time. These hardened skin layers help protect the nerves underneath from the heat. Strange can trick. At a bus stop somewhere in a small town in Russia, a group of road workers in orange uniforms was taking a break, smoking and chatting on the bench. A man in a green jacket walked up to them, holding a can in his hand. Suddenly, the can slipped and dropped to the ground. But instead of bending down to pick it up, he simply opened his palm, and the can flew straight back into his hand on its own. The workers froze, glancing at each other in confusion as the man calmly walked away. Water bender. A woman filming her husband along the coast in Cebu, Philippines, captured something that still leaves people questioning what they saw. He walked toward the water's edge, moved his hands in slow, strange angles, and then raised both arms toward the sky. As his hands moved higher, the waves behind him seemed to rise and follow the same motion, almost like the ocean itself was responding to his gestures. His wife kept the camera steady, catching every second of it. Watching it back, it genuinely looked like he had some kind of control over the water. Wire escape. On the night of the 14th of September, 2021, police officers in Manila, Philippines, were chasing down an escapee when he suddenly did something nobody expected. Cornered between two buildings, he climbed up and stepped straight onto a thin electric wire stretched high above the alley. The officers watched in disbelief as he walked across it. Arms out for balance, the wire was swaying with every gust of wind. Somehow, he made it to the other side without falling, jumped down, and disappeared into the night, moving like a professional highliner rather than a man running for his life. Truck mover. A man casually filming a large dump truck trying to squeeze through a narrow street in Jakarta, Indonesia, ended up capturing something far stranger than expected. The truck came to a stop, blocked by another parked truck ahead. Without hesitation, A man standing nearby walked over, gripped the lower edge of the parked truck with his bare hands, and pushed it sideways, clearing just enough space for the other truck to pass through. It looked like a level of strength no ordinary person should have. Now, I want to know what you think. Could this really be genuine, or just a clever hoax? Let us know in the comments. Superhuman lift. A man walking toward a parking lot in Beijing, China, one night stopped in his tracks at what he saw ahead. Two men were carrying an entire car above their heads, walking with it like it weighed nothing at all. Stunned, he pulled out his phone and started filming. They kept walking steadily, even stepping over a small fence without struggling or slowing down, as if the car in their hands was just an empty box. Out of curiosity, he shared the clip online, but viewers dismissed it as a hoax. Man threw metal. A woman walking down a street in Cairo, Egypt, stopped in her tracks when she spotted something strange near a metal fence. A bald man wrapped in a long black cloak suddenly appeared and walked straight through the solid fence, as if the metal bars weren't there at all. Confused and curious, she stepped closer and tried pressing herself against the same spot, but the fence stayed solid for her. Whatever ability allowed that man to pass through metal wasn't something an ordinary person could copy, no matter how hard she tried. Peculiar man. A taxi driver waiting for a passenger on Vickers Hill in Armagh, Northern Ireland, captured something unsettling on his dashcam. A figure dressed in a dark cloak and a pointed hood was seen crossing the quiet road in broad daylight. Instead of stopping at the stone wall ahead, the figure walked straight into it and vanished, as if solid stone meant nothing to him. The driver sat frozen, unsure of what he had just witnessed. Curious, he posted the footage on YouTube, where a commenter suggested the figure may have had the ability to pass through solid objects. One-arm wonder.
A
vlogger traveling through a small village in Yunnan, China, came across a young man with a condition nobody in the crowd could explain. His body looked completely normal, thin and lean like anyone else, except for one arm. That arm was thick, muscular, and strangely stretchy. When he moved it, the arm bent and swayed side to side like rubber, something a normal arm should never be able to do. Villagers gathered around, staring in disbelief as he flexed it again and again. The vlogger caught the whole moment on camera, leaving viewers online just as stunned.
แขนหนักไหมพี่หนักครับแต่ชินแล้วครับเป็นมาตั้งแต่เกิดลองงอให้กล่องดูหน่อยครับได้ครับเห็นไหมครับกล้ามเป็นมัดๆเส้นเลือดเต็ม
Rubber face. A man sitting in front of his camera in Prague, Czech Republic, showed off an ability that made him look like he had no bones in his face at all. He twisted his jaw sideways, pulled his cheeks into strange shapes, and stretched his mouth, moving his eyes and nose round and round, holding each expression for a second before sliding into the next. Watching him switch between faces this fast, it genuinely felt like he had some God-gifted ability. Basket trick. Store security cameras inside a retail shop in Tulsa, Oklahoma, caught a strange moment that left a worker completely confused. A man dressed in black walked in, stopped near the shelves, and raised his hand toward a stack of shopping baskets across the room. Without anyone touching them, one basket lifted off the pile and flew straight into his hand. Moments later, he raised his other hand toward a snack shelf, and a pack of chips floated right into his grip. The worker in the red shirt just stood there, staring, unable to figure out what he had just witnessed. Strength beyond limit.
That's impressive. That's impressive. Wow, you can still feel the heat.
At the Human Performance Lab in Houston, Texas, scientists brought in Dennis Rogers to test claims about his strength that sounded almost impossible. First, they watched him bend a metal frying pan with his bare hands, something his body size should not have allowed. Stunned, the researchers moved to a stronger test, a steel wrench built to resist bending. They loaded a platform with weights to measure the force needed, stacking it all the way to 500 pounds, and the wrench still would not bend as his hands had done it. By their own calculations, Dennis was producing more force than his own body mass should allow.
All right, so let's add some weights.
All right.
So we're at 150 pounds now.
Burning touch. A group of university students in Chengdu, China, had heard rumors about an old monk who could cause objects to ignite using nothing but his hand. Curious to see it for themselves, they visited him with cameras pointed at him. Two students held a plain sheet of paper, stretched flat between them. The monk raised his hand toward it without touching it at all, and within seconds, a dark mark appeared right in the center, slowly spreading outward. The student stood there in shock, realizing the rumors about him were actually true. Elastic skin.
I used to have an uncle about 10 years old, and he used to pull my skin and show his friends, and I knew by their reactions I had something strange.
At a sideshow carnival in Blackpool, England, a performer named Gary Turner demonstrated why he holds the record for the world's stretchiest skin. He said he first noticed it as a young child, when an older relative would pull his skin out several inches just to shock his friends. On camera, he grabbed a small pinch of skin near his collarbone and stretched it far beyond what a normal person's skin could handle, then let it snap back into place. He even said that his stretchy stomach was strong enough to balance drinks on it. He stretched his skin as far as he could with clippers without feeling pain, leaving viewers stunned.
I can use my belly as a table. I can put 3 pints of beer on there and serve them to people. An ashtray, a bottle of wine, anything I wish, I guess, really.
Airbender. This next clip left me stunned the first time I watched it. Something I thought only existed in movies. A university student, filmed walking through a courtyard in Rotterdam, Netherlands, stopped near a pile of dry leaves scattered on the ground. He raised his hand and began moving it in slow, strange gestures. Almost instantly, the leaves lifted off the pavement and started swirling around him, moving exactly in sync with his hand. It looked less like wind and more like he was controlling it himself. Real Wolverine. A CCTV camera inside a dental clinic in Moscow, Russia, recorded something on the 26th of March, 2003 that still leaves people questioning what they saw. A man walked in, complaining of pain and feeling warm. He took off his shirt and sat down with his hands resting flat on the table. Without any warning, sharp metal blades suddenly shot out from between his knuckles. The dentist jumped back, screaming in shock, but the man just sat there calmly, as if it were nothing unusual. It looked exactly like something out of a fictional movie, but it was actually real. Pole crawler. A group of friends attempting a stunt beside a road in Palm Springs, California, ended up capturing something stranger than they expected. A woman sprayed something onto a man's feet, while his friends lifted him to place his feet against a streetlight pole. What happened next caught everyone off guard. He began moving his feet up the pole while staying completely vertical, slowly climbing higher without ropes or support, almost gripping the metal like a reptile would grip a wall. He kept climbing until he reached the top.
Oh my gosh.
Walking on water. A group of friends boating along a stretch of sea near Valencia, Spain, froze when they spotted something moving far out in the water. One of them grabbed his camera and zoomed toward the strange figure, and what she saw left everyone speechless. A man calmly carrying a bucket, walking across the surface of the water. No board or support was visible holding him up. She later shared the clip online, hoping for answers, and one commenter suggested there may have been a hidden sandbank just under the surface, creating the illusion of him walking on water. Telekinesis. On the 8th of March, 2010, a visitor at Shaolin Temple recorded a strange video of a monk doing something that looked supernatural. He stretched his legs, moved his hand, and seemed to lift a cup from the ground without touching it. People were amazed and thought he had special powers. The mystery stayed unsolved until another video appeared online. A man took a deep breath and moved a sheet of paper on a table with just a hand gesture. He claimed this was called telekinesis. Kitchen reflex. A CCTV camera inside a small kitchen in Sydney, Australia, caught a moment that left a couple completely stunned. A man was holding a milk bottle in one hand and a cup in the other, using his foot to nudge a cabinet door shut. At that exact second, another cup slipped off the shelf beside him. Without even looking, he kicked his foot up midair, caught the falling cup on his shoe, and flicked it straight into his hand, holding a cup. Both of them left shocked, like he had some kind of spider-like reflex nobody could explain. Lifting 1,100 pounds. A group of friends spending the day in a park in County Cork, Ireland, watched one of them take on a wild challenge, lifting a rock weighing 1,102 pounds off the ground. He crouched low, wrapped both arms around the massive stone, spread his legs for balance, then slowly straightened up, lifting it just off the grass. Gritting through the strain, he pulled it up onto his thighs, bent slightly, and shifted his grip before finally hoisting it fully in his arms. His friends cheered him on the entire time, watching in disbelief as he actually pulled it off.
John. Big squeeze, up to goes, come on, John!
Strange tongue twister.
ChatGPT says nobody can do it and it's an unlearnable skill.
A video recently posted online showed a man walking through a shopping mall, believed to be somewhere in Ohio, claiming he could do something nobody else around him could. Facing the camera, he stuck out his tongue and rolled it upward into a tight loop, then flipped it and curled it downward into the exact opposite shape. He grinned at the camera afterward, clearly proud of what he had just shown. Simple as it looked, very few people online could figure out how to copy it, leaving many wondering if his tongue was simply built differently.
I mean, everybody can roll their tongue like this. Most people can do upside down. Lots of people can do the clover.
Construction star. A group of construction workers taking a break at a building site in Shenzhen, China, had no idea one of their co-workers was hiding a talent. Still dressed in his hard hat and safety vest, he suddenly stood up and started dancing on the dusty ground, sliding his feet and spinning with moves that looked straight out of a Michael Jackson performance. His co-workers sat there stunned, some laughing, others just staring in disbelief, clearly never expecting something like this from him. Bare handbrake. This video appeared online on the 9th of March, 2022, and left viewers stunned by this man's strength. In a quiet park, somewhere in China, a man placed a thick ceramic tile with its edge sticking out over the corner of a stone slab. He first climbed on top and stomped on it with his foot, but the tile refused to crack. Undeterred, he sat down, swung his right palm, and struck the edge in one clean hit. The tile snapped instantly, leaving everyone watching completely speechless. Rubber body. At a packed outdoor stage show, believed to be somewhere in Lagos, Nigeria, a young performer left the crowd in shock with a stunt nobody could explain. His partner held up an empty tennis racket frame in front of him, and one by one, he began pushing his body through the small opening. First, his hands slipped through, then his head, and finally his entire body squeezed through the narrow frame like his bones had turned soft. The audience gasped and cheered, watching closely to spot a trick, but from every angle, it looked completely real. Vanishing bill. Whoa. On a busy street corner in Berlin, Germany, a man in a black shirt stopped a random pedestrian and asked to see a bill from his wallet. He took it, folded it between his fingers, and when he opened his hand again, the bill had turned into a plain blank piece of paper. The stranger stood there stunned. Then, holding the same paper, he lit it with a lighter, and the whole thing vanished into thin air. When the clip surfaced online, viewers recognized him as Imad, a magician known for street illusions performed on unsuspecting strangers. Floating cartman. One Sunday afternoon inside a Walmart in Houston, Texas, a man doing his weekly grocery shopping saw something that made him stop mid-aisle. Another shopper was pushing a trolley through the store, except his feet were completely off the ground. He floated behind the cart, gliding down aisle after aisle while holding onto the handle, as calm as if it were completely normal. Other customers stopped to stare, some pulling out their phones in disbelief. Later, when the video was shared on YouTube, viewers brushed it off as staged. Cliffside walk. High above a valley near Squamish, Canada, a man attempted something most people wouldn't dare try, walking across a thin rope stretched between two mountain cliffs. On his first attempt, he lost balance and dropped, catching himself on the rope below. Steadying his nerves, he climbed back up and began again, arms raised, body swaying with every gust of wind, taking one careful step at a time, and finally he made it. Experts call this highlining, a sport that relies purely on balance and core control, with no hidden support. Human Jack. This video, which surfaced online 18 years ago, showed something happening in a street in Salem, Massachusetts. A man walked up to a parked car and, without any equipment, gripped the underside and lifted it clean off the ground. Then he crouched beneath it, adjusted his stance, and slowly raised the entire vehicle straight above his head using nothing but his bare hands and arms. He held it there steadily for several seconds, muscles straining, before lowering it safely back down, leaving viewers stunned. Wall to life. An anonymous TikTok account shared something that made an ordinary street wall feel alive. A man stood in front of a plain concrete wall in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, brush in hand, and started painting a woman's face beneath a patch of hanging green leaves. As the portrait took shape, that leafy overhang became her flowing hair, blending perfectly into the artwork below. He repeated the trick twice more, turning different walls into different women, each one using the real plants above as part of the painting. His final piece even showed a woman painting a tree with actual roots growing out of the canvas. Invisible support. Two friends walking along a beach in Casablanca, Morocco, ended up running after watching something strange. A man dressed in black stood still on the wet sand, then slowly leaned his entire body backward, balancing on just one foot while the rest of him hovered parallel to the ground. It looked as if he was resting on an invisible bed nobody else could see. He held the pose steady for several seconds before calling out to them. Startled and unsure what they had just witnessed, the two friends ran off. If you have any idea how he pulled this off, let me know in the comments below. Mind control. One Saturday, a physics professor in Austin, Texas, who had spent years studying claims of telekinesis, filmed something he thought only existed in movies. He balanced a needle upright on the table and rested a small folded piece of paper on top of it, then placed his hand close beside it without touching it at all. Slowly, the paper began spinning around the needle on its own, turning steadily as if guided by some invisible force. He now believed that he had an innate ability to control things with his mind. Fountain balance. A group of cyclists riding through a park in Barcelona, Spain, watched one of their friends take on a challenge nobody thought was possible. He lifted his front wheel off the ground and balanced it on the narrow edge of a fountain, then hopped the entire bike onto a small concrete block sitting in the water, keeping his front wheel raised in the air the whole time. He repeated the jump 2 more times across different blocks, making it look almost effortless. Then he turned the handlebars mid-air and landed cleanly on the last edge, leaving his friends cheering in disbelief. Mysterious preacher. A preacher standing at the edge of a river in Aceh, Indonesia, was filmed by one of his devotees. He raised both hands, reciting something religious under his breath, then slowly stepped forward onto the water. The devotees watching from the shore froze, jaws dropped, as he continued walking on the surface. Then, even more shocking, he broke into a run, moving across the water as easily as if he were running on solid ground, leaving everyone behind him speechless. Unexpected street performance. A tourist walking through a shopping street in Milan, Italy, stopped when he noticed a large crowd gathered around a man dressed from neck to toe in black. Assuming it was a regular street performance, he pulled out his camera to record. What followed was unlike anything he had seen before. The man dropped into a full split, flipped into a one-handed handstand, and slithered across the pavement with his legs twisting and crossing in ways that looked physically impossible. Fastest hands. The man you're looking at is known as the fastest man alive, Ken Lee from Italy, famous for reflexes that seem almost impossible to believe. Sitting calmly at a table with a red lighter placed in front of him, he snatched it up in a fraction of a second, faster than most people can even blink. He built this skill through hundreds of hours of practice, repeating the same motion again and again, using lighters and clothespins until his reaction time became lightning fast. If you've ever seen someone faster than him, let us know in the comments below. Lucky somersault.
Of humor about this, Kelly, and he would have to, given what happened. The two drivers were on Belcher Road, one of them going north, the other one going south, when one of them tried to make a turn at Gulf to Bay. And the motorcyclist says it's a good thing that he took gymnastics growing up.
A man watching the evening news at home in Orlando, Florida, quickly grabbed his phone and started recording when this clip came on screen. Traffic cameras had caught a motorcycle crossing paths with a turning car at a busy intersection, sending the rider flying up into a clean somersault through the air before landing back on the road. For a moment, everyone watching held their breath. Then, unbelievably, the rider got straight back up and walked it off like nothing had happened, leaving both the news anchors and viewers completely stunned by how lucky that fall turned out to be. Perfect throw. This video went viral back in 2022 and gained millions of views. It showed a man testing his skills in his backyard. He had set up 3 tall pillars at different distances across the grass, each one topped with a small target. One after another, he threw frisbees across the field, and every single throw landed perfectly on target, hitting the same spot no matter how far the pillar was. It looked almost too precise to be real, but this kind of accuracy only comes from years of practice. Shifting pupils. 3 years ago, a girl in Ohio was casually filming her sister for a TikTok video when something strange happened. At first, everything looked completely normal, just an ordinary close-up of her sister's face. But suddenly, her pupil began to grow, expanding far larger than it should, before shrinking back down to its normal size within seconds. Both sisters were left speechless when they noticed it while reviewing the clip. After they shared it online, one commenter dismissed it as a hoax, while others were less certain. Levitating phone. On a routine day in Nanjing, China, a tourist walking through a public square filmed something odd. A young man's phone had slipped from his pocket and landed flat on the pavement. Instead of bending down to grab it, he crouched slightly and pointed his open palm toward the phone. Then he slowly raised his hand higher, and the phone lifted off the ground with it, rising through the air as if pulled by an invisible string. Onlookers stood frozen, jaws dropped, phones raised to record, but the man simply walked off afterward as if nothing unusual had happened. Twisted man. This next video genuinely freaked me out and made me question what kind of people are actually living among us. A man working at an office in Dallas, Texas, was going about his day when his colleague suddenly collapsed backward onto the floor, moving with no resistance, as if his body had no bones holding it together. Instead of getting up normally, he flipped onto all fours and started crawling toward him in a strange, unnatural posture. Terrified, the man bolted out of the office, convinced something was seriously wrong with his co-worker. Open discussion. A CCTV camera outside a house in Yorkshire, England, caught an unexpected moment. A team of workers had arrived to install a window when their transit van suddenly started rolling on its own, with nobody behind the wheel. One worker, who had been standing on the roof, scrambled down fast and jumped straight in front of the moving van. With both hands pressed against the front, he dug his feet into the ground and pushed back with everything he had. Slowly, the van came to a complete stop, saved by nothing but raw human strength. You're about to spend the next hour watching footage that will give you nightmares. Mysterious entities stalking people.
I think I can see it on here.
Creepy ghost videos that will surely unnerve you, and bone-chilling encounters that still haunt viewers. Stay to the end because the last clips terrified me as I was preparing this video. A man was hiking through Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina, filming the trees for a nature video, when something between the trunks caught his eye. He stopped and zoomed in. A lean, pale white figure stood among the bushes, its body bending down and pulling back up again and again, with no clear reason. It had no fur, no clothes, just bare pale skin. He backed away slowly and left the trail early. Later, when he asked the locals, they told him those woods were known to be haunted by a witch. Duende sighting. Two friends were playing football indoors in a narrow hallway in El Paso, Texas, while a third one was filming them. Mid-game, something darted across the frame that made all three of them run. A small creature, wrapped in a black hooded cloak, sprinted past them and vanished into the darkness of the lobby ahead. Terrified, they dropped everything and ran outside. Later, they showed the clip to their grandfather, who said it looked like a duende, a mischievous creature from old stories. Church ghost.
That was strange. That one was all blurred. Don't move, Phil.
Two friends walked into an old historical church in Savannah, Georgia, just to take some pictures. One stood by the window, while the other snapped photos on his phone. When he clicked the first shot, a dark figure was crouched low beside him, something that wasn't there in reality. Confused, he clicked another. This time, a shadowy figure stood upright, its upper body blending into darkness and its legs fading out. They ran straight out, certain the old church was haunted by a specter.
Swap you over with that.
Someone just pulled my jacket.
Possessed doll. A woman in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, had been feeling uneasy for 3 nights, ever since her old doll started acting strange, shifting positions on its own, sitting differently than she had left it. One night, while she slept, the doll walked into her room and pulled off its wig. She woke up screaming. Her brothers, sleeping down the hall, ran in to find her on the floor, something gripping her leg and dragging her under the bed. They pulled her free and bolted out of the house as a bald figure chased them to the door, certain the doll had been possessed. Peculiar castle figure. Two paranormal investigators had heard rumors about an old abandoned castle near Beacon, New York, said to be haunted, and they went out one night hoping to catch something on camera. As they set up outside, they spotted a strange figure standing in an upper window, pale-faced with hollow eyes, staring down at them like it was warning them to leave. They kept filming, and when they finally worked up the nerve to go check the room themselves, it was empty. They walked away, certain a ghost might be still watching over the castle. Strange thermal energy. A paranormal investigator was exploring an abandoned house in Cairo, Illinois, hoping to catch something terrifying on camera for his channel. He set up his thermal camera in one of the back rooms and waited. Then the screen lit up with a strange heat signature, humanoid in shape, standing just a few feet away, though there was nothing visible in the room with his own eyes. He watched the shape start moving toward him on the screen. He dropped the camera and ran, too afraid of what might happen if he stayed. Creepy mask. A young man in Reno, Nevada, was filming a TikTok video, holding up a creepy face mask beside his own for laughs. Halfway through recording, a chill ran down his spine. The mask's mouth curled into a wide, unsettling smile on its own, as if it was alive. He froze for a second before yanking it off his hand and throwing it across the room. Later, when he told his father what happened, the old man said masks like that were often known to carry spirits with them. Scary face behind. On the 8th of April, 2003, a man in Biloxi, Mississippi, turned on his camera because he kept feeling like something was in his room with him. The power had gone out moments earlier. As he sat there filming, something appeared right behind him in the dark. A reddish face, far bigger than his own, with 2 eyes slowly blinking in the shadows. He didn't seem to notice it at all. Then the video suddenly cut off. Nobody knows what happened after that clip ended. Terrifying attic figure. A family in Macon, Georgia, woke up at 2 in the morning to a strange sound coming from the attic above them. One of them grabbed a stick and pushed open the attic door to take a look. That's when a terrifying face stared back at them, pale skin and dark, hollow eyes peeking out from the darkness. He slammed the door shut instantly and rushed everyone out of the room, certain they had just seen a rake. Later, when they checked the attic again, there was nothing up there at all, no sign anything had ever been. Haunted kitchen.
What's up? Relax. I was fucking kid upstairs. I'm not joking. What do you mean? I was down there with them. You can see that camera. There's like I heard it twice. What? I can't laugh.
This clip was shared by a viewer named Jessica. Her sister was working in the kitchen one afternoon in Wichita, Kansas, when she suddenly called out for her sister, her voice shaking. She said she had just heard a child laughing right beside her, though she was completely alone in the room. Her sister rushed in and started recording, and by then the woman was crying, pointing toward the kitchen. Watching the footage back, nothing unusual comes through in the audio. So take a close look at yourselves, and let us know in the comments if you catch anything strange.
Relax. I already looked back, I ignored it, then it happened again, and I got up and started freaking out. You can see that camera. Okay, relax.
Unseen intruder. A man in Dayton, Ohio, was about to head to bed when something stopped him cold. The handle of his bedroom door had started rolling on its own, turning back and forth as if invisible hands were trying to twist it open. He grabbed his camera and slowly pulled the door open himself, and even then, the handle kept spinning right in front of him. His heart was pounding the whole time, because he had lived in that house for 10 years and had never seen anything like it before, and after this encounter, he was convinced that his house was haunted. Mall's sprinting entity. After closing time at a shopping mall in Surabaya, Indonesia, a team of workers were finishing up their nightly tasks when something on the same floor made all of them stop. A figure dressed in white darted across the floor in the distance. One of the workers managed to catch a few seconds of it on his phone before it vanished around the corner. He shared the clip online, convinced it was a witch, but the viewers brushed it off as a hoax. Sarkata. A group of friends were wandering the streets late one night in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, when something ahead made them all scared. A man was walking calmly along the roadside, his shoulders moving with each step, but there was nothing above them, no head at all. They slowed down, unsure if their eyes were playing tricks, but the figure kept walking at the same calm pace, like nothing was wrong. Too frightened to get closer, they turned back the way they came. Later, when they described what they saw, locals identified it as a Sarkata, a spirit from old Indian folklore. Ghost encounter. A property dealer in Flint, Michigan, was walking through an empty house to check it out for a client when the window shutters and the bedroom door slammed shut on their own. Startled, he rushed outside to catch his breath. That's when he saw it, a pale face with hollow black eyes staring straight at him from the window. He stumbled back, heart racing, unable to move for a moment. When he finally gathered the courage to open the window, he spotted nothing but an old ball. He never went back inside, convinced a ghost lived in that house. Mysterious peeking figure. A group of friends was driving up a mountain road in Asheville, North Carolina, cutting through the woods to reach a hill station, when their headlights swept across an old abandoned house at the roadside. That's when they saw a bald figure peeking out from the corner of a broken window, its head tilted, just watching them pass. They locked eyes with it for a second before someone screamed to hit the gas. They sped off without looking back. On their way back home, none of them could stop thinking about what might have been waiting inside that house.
Oh, what?
Rake sighting.
There's something under there.
A group of friends was resting at their campsite after a long hike near Big Sur, California, when a low growl rolled out from the darkness. They grabbed their torches and went to check it out. Shining their lights down over the edge of a cliff, they spotted something moving below, a pale figure standing upright, almost like a person but not quite. It stood there, unmoving, watching them right back. One of them let out a scream, and they turned and ran for their tents without looking back, convinced they had just seen a rake. Black figure. On the 7th of March, 2008, a man went to inspect an abandoned house in Cleveland, Ohio, hoping to buy it. As he walked through the rooms, something near the back wall made him freeze. A black figure, wearing what looked like a dark cap and a face just as black, stood there, completely still. He turned around and walked out without a word, knowing he would never buy that house. Later, he shared the video online, certain he had filmed a ghost. Some viewers, though, believed it was only a homeless man hiding inside.
Boa noite. Olá.
Unseen force. A father and his son were sitting in their living room in Akron, Ohio, on a late-night video call with the wife. Mid-conversation, the father turned around and froze. Behind them, the carpet on the floor had lifted at one corner, moving on its own like something invisible was holding it up. They couldn't explain it, and started wondering if something unseen had been living with them in the house. What do you think? Wandering soul. Once you're done liking this video and subscribing, let me remind you what you're about to watch is going to be bizarre, and we seriously need to talk about them. A man in Tulsa, Oklahoma, kept hearing heavy footsteps in his basement every night for a week. To test it, he tied a blue balloon and let it float at the top of the stairs, thinking that if something was down there, it might touch it. Instead of sinking, the balloon jerked and bounced up and down, as if invisible hands were playing with it. He stood frozen, unable to look away. After this encounter, he believed it was his son, gone 2 months, still visiting. Frightening figure. A couple had just moved into a new house in Lubbock, Texas. One night, they woke up at 3 in the morning to a strange sound coming from the attic. The wife grabbed her phone to record while her husband went up to check it out. As he climbed back down, something appeared behind him on camera. A bald head with glowing eyes, dark lips, and pointy ears, watching from the shadows above. Neither of them noticed it until they replayed the footage later. Shaken, they packed their things the very next morning and asked the owner for a full refund. Scary entity. Two siblings living in Salem, Massachusetts, heard a strange scratching sound coming from beneath their bed late one night. Curious, they got down to check, and what one of them saw made his heart skip a beat. He scrambled up and ran to hide behind the couch, his hands shaking, while his brother searched the room, calling out his name. The sound kept echoing through the house, refusing to stop. Later, a neighbor told them a woman had been slain inside this house 6 months ago, and they started to believe her soul had come back to seek revenge. Haunted school. A security guard doing his night shift at a school in Surabaya, Indonesia, heard a scraping sound coming from a locked classroom. He walked over with his torch and looked through the window, and what he saw stopped him in his tracks. Chairs inside were sliding forward and back on their own. It looked as if something invisible was playing with them, though nothing showed up on his camera at all. He didn't wait around to figure it out. He walked straight home that night and never returned to the job, certain that school was haunted. Stretcher soul. An ambulance driver in Amarillo, Texas, was heading back to the hospital after dropping off the body of a deceased patient at their home. Halfway through the drive, something bone-chilling started happening behind him. The metal stretcher began rattling and banging against the ambulance floor, lifting slightly as if unseen hands were pushing on it. He didn't panic. He had seen this before on the job, so he just kept driving and pulled out his phone to film it. He believed the souls of the deceased sometimes lingered on the stretcher for a while before finally letting go. Terrifying doll's drawing. One Sunday night, a woman in Erie, Pennsylvania, woke up around 3 to get some water when she heard something fall near the wall. She walked over and found her old doll lying flat on the floor, arms out. She turned toward the kitchen for a moment and when she looked back, the doll's position had changed. Now it sat upright against the wall, holding a pen, a strange drawing resting on a pad beside it. Unsettled, she leaned in to film it closely. That's when the doll whispered, "Mama." She bolted to her room and locked the door until sunrise, convinced the doll was haunted. Ghost in storeroom.
I don't like it.
A woman in Boise, Idaho, was watching TV one night when a strange sound came from the storeroom out back. She grabbed her camera and slowly made her way toward it, curious what was causing the noise. As she got closer, a pale, bald head peeked out from behind the window, staring right at her. Terrified, she screamed and ran back inside. The next morning, she worked up the courage to check the storeroom again, but it was empty. That was enough for her to believe a spirit had been inside. Peeking phantom. A man in Peoria, Illinois, was alone at home one night, watching his favorite show when he heard footsteps coming from downstairs. He grabbed his camera and went toward it, and that's when he caught it. A dark shadow peeking out from behind the corner, watching him from a distance. He got up and walked over to check, but there was nothing there. He kept his camera moving through the lobby, searching every corner, but whatever it was didn't show itself again. When he later showed the clip to his father, he was convinced it was a phantom. Dark shadow. One Sunday night, a man in Toledo, Ohio, turned on his PC to play a game and started adjusting his webcam before jumping in. As he moved the camera around, something strange flashed in the corner of the room. A dark shadow that appeared for a second and then vanished just as fast. He didn't think much of it at the time. Later, while re-watching the clip, he noticed it and felt a chill. Curious, he shared the clip on Instagram to let people decide for themselves, but most viewers brushed it off as nothing more than a hoax. Paranormal activity. A woman working late one night in Springfield, Missouri, noticed a plate near the sink start moving in the dish rack on its own, like something invisible had grabbed hold of it. She grabbed her camera and pointed it toward the kitchen just in time to catch something even stranger. Items began tumbling out of the cabinets, crashing onto the floor one after another. She stood frozen, tears in her eyes, too scared to move. Then the plate shot straight off the rack. After this experience, she could not sleep the entire night, thinking about the ghost. Hands on the stairs. A woman in Charleston, South Carolina, was reading before bed when a strange sound echoed up from downstairs. Alone in the house, she grabbed her camera and moved toward the noise. As she reached the staircase, she spotted two pale hands gripping the bottom step, the rest of the body swallowed by the darkness beyond it. She called out, asking if anyone was there. The hands slowly pulled back and disappeared. She followed down the stairs and flipped on the lights, but the camera showed nothing except her dogs, leaving her certain something had been lurking in darkness. Peculiar peeking figure. This clip, recently shared by a man named Thomas Edward, has been getting a lot of attention online. One evening, he was at home with his family in Knoxville, Tennessee, when something strange caught his eye in the corner of the room. He zoomed in with his phone and clearly filmed a pale figure with dark, hollow eyes, standing motionless, like a witch in the shadows. But when he went to check the corner, nothing was there. He still posts the clip, hoping someone can explain what he saw. So, if you have any idea, then write it down in the comments section.
I think I can see it on here.
Non-human tenant. A man was looking at an apartment in Amarillo, Texas, and filming it to show his wife before they decided whether to rent it. As he moved his camera down the hallway, a dark figure with long black hair suddenly appeared and quickly hid behind a door before he could see it clearly. His hands shook as he kept recording. He didn't tell the landlord what he'd seen. Instead, he walked out, called his wife, and said they would not be renting the place. He was sure that something non-human was living there. Ghost Rider. Just a year ago, a man was riding his motorcycle home after hanging out with friends late one night in Huntsville, Alabama. As he crossed Crybaby Bridge, another rider suddenly appeared from the opposite direction, speeding past him at an impossible pace. His GoPro caught the whole thing. When he later showed the clip to a friend, The friend told him the bridge had long been rumored to be haunted, with riders sometimes claiming they saw a strange figure crossing it. Grabbed by invisible force. A content creator in New Orleans, Louisiana, decided to lie down inside an open grave late one night, just to film something different for his channel. Within seconds of settling in, something invisible grabbed the front of his shirt and yanked hard. He scrambled out fast, screaming, and ran straight to his friends waiting nearby with the camera still rolling. He couldn't explain what had pulled at him, only that it felt deliberate, like a warning not to treat a grave as a joke. Bizarre moving figure. A man living near an abandoned building outside Fayetteville, Arkansas, had been hearing strange sounds for the last 2 weeks. One morning, he finally decided to go check it out himself with his camera rolling. Just as he got close, a pale, misty figure darted across one of the upper windows and vanished behind the brick wall. He stopped in his tracks and backed away slowly, not willing to go any closer. There had been rumors around town for years about a skinwalker roaming that stretch of land, and this was enough to convince him they were true. Mysterious street figure. A woman in Modesto, California, woke up late one night to use the bathroom when she glanced out her window on the way back and froze. Down on the empty street below, a tall, dark figure was walking slowly along the sidewalk, its long hair swaying with every step, far too tall to be an ordinary person. It kept walking at the same pace until it turned the corner and disappeared from view. Convinced, she shared the clip online, claiming he had captured something otherworldly. Ghost child. A gravedigger working late one evening in a cemetery outside Savannah, Georgia, noticed something small moving between the tombstones in the distance. He quickly pulled out his phone and started filming before it could disappear. The camera caught a pale, childlike shape drifting silently through the graves. Within seconds, it slipped behind a row of stones and was gone. He shared the clip online, calling it a ghost child, though most viewers in the comments brushed it off as a hoax. Strange figures in white. A man had heard rumors about a haunted house in Muncie, Indiana, so one night he decided to go check it out for himself, camera in hand. Walking through the rooms, he didn't notice anything unusual with his own eyes. Later, when he replayed the footage at home, he spotted two humanoid figures standing side by side, their eyes glowing bright in the darkness, arms hanging loosely at their sides. He watched the clip over and over, and by the end, he was convinced the rumors he had heard about that house were true. Attic creature. This clip was shared online on the 12th of June 2026 and left viewers stunned. It showed something crouched in the corner of an attic in a home in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It was dark-skinned, with long, sharp nails curling off its fingers, a wrinkled reddish face, pointy ears, and glowing eyes that caught the light. It stayed motionless, staring at him. Many who saw the clip online said it resembled a gargoyle, the kind of creature old stories say guards forgotten places at night. Dark apparition. Just a year ago, a man was out on a nighttime walk near an abandoned house in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, when a strange sound coming from inside caught his attention. Curious, he stepped in to check it out and left shocked. Standing in one of the rooms was a dark, upright shape, human in form but having no visible facial features, just a smooth outline in the dark. He hesitated, then walked closer to get a better look, but by the time he reached the spot, nothing was there. He hurried back outside, certain that he saw a ghost. Pokong. A man was relaxing on his porch one evening in Meridian, Mississippi, when something moved in the darkness ahead. He grabbed his phone and pointed the camera toward the trees, trying to get a better look. Without warning, a shrouded figure lunged straight at him out of the shadows. The video ended abruptly, leaving us all curious. Nobody knows what happened next. Unseen presence. Three years ago, a man was exploring an old, abandoned temple in Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, walking slowly through its crumbling halls with his camera out. As he passed through one corridor, a door beside him swung shut on its own, with no one near it. He stopped and looked around carefully, checking every corner, but there was nothing unusual to see. He walked out convinced that something unseen inside that temple had just made its presence known to him. Peculiar smoky figure. A man was driving home late one night after finishing his shift, passing by an old battlefield memorial on the outskirts of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, when his dashcam picked up something strange near the roadside. A pale, smoky figure, shaped like a person walking upright, drifted slowly beside the old cannons lined up on the grass. He slowed the car down, watching it for a few seconds before it disappeared into the night. That stretch of road had long been rumored to be haunted, and after seeing it, he had no doubt it was true. Horrifying eyes. A man was filming an old abandoned building in Toledo, Ohio, one he hadn't stepped inside in 5 years, curious to see how much had changed since. As he pushed through the door, something in the darkness made him stop cold. 2 glowing eyes stared back at him from the far corner. Nothing else visible, no face, no body, just those eyes fixed on him in the pitch black. He didn't wait to find out what they belonged to. He spun around and ran, remembering the old stories people had told him about that building being haunted. Crouched figure. A man in Rockford, Illinois, was sleeping peacefully when a loud banging on his bedroom door woke him up around 1 in the morning. He sat up, still groggy, and froze when he saw it. A bizarre figure was crouched low, half hidden behind the door left slightly open, watching him from the gap. Before he could even swing his legs out of bed, it was gone. He searched every room in the house right after, but found nothing out of place. After watching the footage back several times, he became convinced he had just seen a ghost. Haunted van. On the 10th of October, 2013, a man went camping alone in a forest in Malaysia, parked in his van for the night. Stepping outside for some air, he noticed something odd through the windshield. The front seats of the van kept folding forward and snapping back again and again. He grabbed his camera fast and started filming, then opened the door to check inside, but there he spotted nothing. Unsettled, he decided the spot wasn't right for camping and packed up to find somewhere else for the night. Open discussion.
So we're in the parking lot and we see this weird guy standing.
A man was getting into his car late one night in a parking lot outside a warehouse in Fresno, California, when something in one of the upper windows made him stop halfway. A dark figure stood perfectly still, watching him. He knew he had locked the warehouse himself just minutes earlier.
I mean, I feel like we've seen him move.
Slowly, he pulled out his phone and started filming, never taking his eyes off the window. The figure didn't move or react. That was enough to send him away, and on his way back home, he understood why 5 employees had quit without explanation the week before, all of them convinced the place was haunted. 2 things you never want to see out your plane window: engine failure and something not of our Earth. Strange shapes outside airplane windows. Glowing discs hovering over cities and mysterious lights seen by passengers. These people captured what no one was supposed to see. One Sunday afternoon, a woman on a flight from Seattle, Washington to Denver, Colorado, was filming the wing outside her window when something crossed right past it. A rounded, metallic object with a wide, flat rim moved fast beneath the clouds, close enough that she could make out faint markings on its surface, almost like letters she couldn't quite read. She lowered her phone, still trying to process what had just flown beside a moving aircraft, convinced it wasn't anything built on this Earth. Bizarre flying object. A man flying from Portland, Oregon, toward Boise, Idaho, was filming the evening sky through his window when something odd streaked into frame. It had a rounded tip at the front and a long cylindrical body, trailing a bright, star-shaped glow behind it like a burning tail. It moved steadily across the sky, cutting past the clouds without slowing down. Curious, he shared the clip online, and it went viral overnight, with viewers convinced it was a UFO, though no official answer ever came. Glowing sky shape. A man on a flight from Atlanta, Georgia to Nashville, Tennessee, was reading a book when something bright caught his attention. Outside the window, close beside the plane, hung a glowing white object with an odd, uneven shape. almost like a small cloud that had folded in on itself. He fumbled to turn on his camera, catching it just as it moved fast across the sky. He never got a clear look at it before it pulled away. Curious, he posted the clip online, where viewers brushed it off as a UFO. Flying saucer. A man on a flight from Austin, Texas, to New Orleans, Louisiana, was staring out the window when a dark shape near the wing shocked him. Hovering just off the plane was a saucer-shaped object, its underside pitch black and its edges curved smoothly all the way around. It stayed level with the aircraft, matching its speed almost exactly, close enough that he could make out the full shape of it against the sky. He filmed it with his hand shaking until it dropped back and disappeared in the sky. Transparent disc. Recently, a woman flying over the Rocky Mountains in Colorado was filming the peaks below when something strange floated into view outside her window. It was a disc-shaped object, almost see-through, like it was made of glass, catching the light in a way that made it shimmer against the sky. She quickly grabbed her camera, trying to capture it before it slipped away. Within seconds, it faded out of sight completely. All the way home, she couldn't stop wondering if it was real, and if the government had been hiding the truth about visitors from beyond Earth. Mysterious flying capsule. A passenger flying over the Verrazano Narrows Bridge in New York was filming the view below when something shot past the frame in an instant. At first, it barely registered, just a quick blur crossing the sky. He replayed the clip and slowed it down, and that's when he saw it clearly. A black, capsule-shaped object with a smooth, rounded body. It moved with a speed that didn't match anything he'd known before. Curious, he kept rewinding the footage until he was convinced that he captured a UFO passing over the bridge. Mysterious sky chase. This clip was shared by a secret source on the 7th of March, 2025. It showed a small disc-shaped object gliding through the gray sky, with a sharp, triangular, jet-like shape trailing close behind it, cutting a thick line of white smoke across the sky. Both of them moved together at incredible speed, but the smaller disc stayed out of reach of the object chasing it. The footage cut off before either one left the frame. Viewers online guessed it might be a UFO being pursued by a military jet, but no official explanation was ever released. UFO over the peaks. A passenger flying over the Rocky Mountains in Colorado spotted something strange drifting far below the plane. Sitting just above the jagged peaks was a glowing white, disc-shaped object, its edges rounded and bright enough to stand out clearly against the gray rock. He kept his camera locked on it until it drifted out of view behind the ridgeline. He was convinced it was a real UFO patrolling over the mountains. Spaceship. A man waiting for a taxi in Miami, Florida, glanced up at the sky just to escape the heat for a second, and what he saw made him freeze. Sitting right between two thick clouds was a tall, dark, cylindrical shape, narrow at the top with a faint white glow near its peak, standing completely upright like it was balanced there on purpose. He pulled his phone from his pocket and hit record, keeping his eyes on it until it slowly sank back into the clouds and disappeared. If you have any idea what this object could be, write it down in the comments. Sunset saucer sighting. Back in 2008, passengers flying over Nevada were left stunned when they spotted something hovering just beside their plane. It had a wide, flat surface with a rounded dome rising from its top, sitting steady in the sky as the sunset glowed orange beneath it. Several people pressed against the windows, jaws dropped, unable to believe what they were seeing. It looked like the flying saucers they had only seen in movies. Later, when the clips were shared on TikTok, viewers brushed it off as an effect of artificial intelligence. Giants above clouds. Back in 2014, a man filming the view from his plane window was left stunned by what he saw far below. Standing above a thick blanket of clouds were two tall, human-shaped figures, completely still, like they were standing on solid ground. He zoomed in for a closer look, and their shape held steady. Long limbs, upright posture, clearly human-like. When he panned the camera sideways, he spotted even more of them scattered nearby. Some viewers believe clouds can trick the eye into shapes, but the way these figures stood together left many convinced it was something else entirely. Vanishing craft. A pilot running a routine drill high above the clouds near Edwards Air Force Base in California spotted something he never expected outside his cockpit. Far in the distance, small but clearly shaped, sat an object with a flat bottom and a rounded dome on top. Curious, he quickly filmed it and radioed it in and was told to move in for a closer look. But before he could turn the jet toward it, the object vanished. He never got the chance to close the distance, and he stayed convinced it was a real UFO.
Something I can't tell if it's metallic or what, and there's I can see like lines coming down below, but I can't see anything below it.
Vanishing saucer.
Oh my god, did you see that?
A woman flying for the first time in her life was filming the clear blue sky outside her window over Massachusetts. Out of nowhere, a smooth, dark object appeared, oval and dome-shaped, with a shiny curved surface catching the sunlight along one edge. She kept the camera steady, watching it hold its position in the open sky. Then thin smoke curled along its side, and in an instant, it vanished. Stunned, she later showed the clip to her husband, who worked at NASA, and he told her it resembled a flying saucer.
Oh!
Spacecraft. On the 7th of March, 2003, a woman flying somewhere over New Mexico pressed her phone to the window and started filming three strange lights hanging in the distance. One sat larger and brighter right in the center, glowing steadily like a small sun, while two smaller lights flickered on either side of it. She kept the camera locked on them, watching the lights blink on and off in a pattern that didn't quite match anything she recognized. Curious, she posted the clip on Instagram, where one commenter suggested she may have filmed a UFO. Fixed sky object. One Monday, a man flying over Florida was filming the view outside his window when something strange shocked him. Hovering between the clouds was a dark, gray, metallic-looking object, small but sharply defined, with one corner catching a flash of light from above. The plane kept moving fast, yet the object stayed locked in place, never drifting or shifting position. He kept his camera on it, expecting it to move at any second, but it remained motionless the entire time. He shared the clip on TikTok, calling it a UFO, though he left the final answer up to viewers. Steerable sky mystery. A woman filming a mini vlog on her flight was showing off the clear sky and the cabin around her when something odd appeared far off beside the plane. Curious, she zoomed in, catching a smooth, white, oval-shaped object, rounded evenly at both ends with no windows, doors, or markings anywhere on its surface. She couldn't make sense of what it was at first. When she asked the passenger sitting next to her, he leaned in and guessed it might be some kind of steerable balloon drifting through the sky. Circular flying object. A passenger on a flight from Denver, Colorado to Phoenix, Arizona was filming the clouds outside his window just to pass the time. That's when a strange shape came into view beside the wing, a wide, circular object with a small dome rising from its center, dark gray against the hazy sky. Instead of flying level, it appeared to be slowly descending toward the ground. He kept the camera steady until it faded into the haze below. He could not understand what it was because it looked nothing like a plane. Peculiar hovering shape.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what I'm looking at.
A man hiking a trail near the Poconos in Pennsylvania stopped to take in the view when something caught his eye far across the valley. Hanging low in the sky was a small, white, oval-shaped object, sitting still above the trees like it was searching for a place to land. It didn't drift with the breeze or lose its shape the way clouds do. He zoomed in as far as he could and filmed it for a while, watching it hover in place before it slipped away. Out of curiosity, he shared the clip on Instagram, where one of the commenters suggested that it might be a UFO.
What?
Unidentified aerial object. This clip was shared by an anonymous user on Instagram 2 weeks ago after being filmed somewhere above the Rocky Mountains, and it left viewers stunned. It showed a small, dark object drifting above the snow-covered peaks below, its shape too blurry to make out clearly, though a faint shadow trailed beneath it across the snow. Curious about what he had caught, he posted the clip online for people to decide for themselves. Bizarre flying square. A man taking in some fresh air on his balcony in Cincinnati, Ohio, looked up at the cloudy sky, hoping to see rain rolling in. Instead, something dark caught his eye, drifting across the sky. He grabbed his phone and zoomed in as far as it would go, finally getting a clear look. It had 4 straight sides, pitch black all over, almost like a small square carved out of the sky itself. Lights above LA. At 3 in the morning, a man on a plane about to land was filming the glittering city lights below when 3 faint lights caught his attention, hanging motionless in the dark sky above Los Angeles, California. As the plane continued to descend toward the runway, the lights remained in the same position. He thought it might be some kind of aircraft hiding in the darkness, with only its lights giving it away. Later, he shared the clip online, but viewers took it as aviation obstruction lights in the distance. Dark sky wedge. One morning, a man out for a walk in Louisville, Kentucky, looked up at the heavy gray clouds and stopped cold. Hanging low in the sky was a strange dark shape, triangular with 3 sharp corners, its body pitch black except for a faint pale marking near the center. It didn't sway with the wind or drift as a kite would. It was just moving against the clouds. Out of curiosity, he shared the clip on TikTok, but viewers dismissed it as a hoax. Surveillance balloon. On February 3rd, 2023, a U-2 pilot flying high above the central United States looked out and saw something massive drifting near his wing. It was a huge white balloon, round and heavy, with a boxy panel of equipment hanging beneath it. He snapped a photo before flying away. The very next day, an F-22 fighter jet shot it down off the coast of South Carolina. China claimed it was only a weather balloon, but officials said it was built for surveillance, leaving many wondering what it was really watching. Mysterious flying object. A pilot flying a route from Las Vegas, Nevada, towards Salt Lake City, Utah, spotted something odd drifting near his cockpit window. It looked different from any other aircraft. It was a dark, flat object moving at an incredible speed. Its edges looked sharp and even on all 4 sides. He grabbed his phone and filmed it through the glass, watching it hold its shape as it moved. He radioed it, but air traffic control never gave him a clear answer. UFO scanning Earth. A woman flying from Chicago, Illinois to Miami, Florida, was filming the thick clouds outside her window when something made her stop breathing for a second. Just above the cloud tops, a saucer-shaped object glowed white underneath, its light spilling down and lighting up the clouds around it like fog under a lamp. It moved slowly along the cloud line, almost gliding, as if it was searching for something below. She kept filming, too shocked to say a word, until it drifted further off. She believed it was a UFO scanning the Earth. Unidentified sky object. A passenger waiting for his flight at the airport in Charlotte, North Carolina, noticed something strange catching the light high above the runway. He quickly pulled out his phone and tried to lock onto it, struggling at first as it drifted against the bright sky. After a moment, he finally got a clear shot, a tiny, glowing object moving steadily far above the clouds. It held no clear shape, just a small point of light with no wings or blinking pattern he could make out. Confused, he shared the clip online, and one commenter guessed it might have been a distant aircraft. Mysterious sky trail. Angelina and Kerry Smith were flying over the Aegean Sea when Angelina pointed her camera at the thick, foggy clouds outside the window, just filming the view. That's when something long and dark cut through the haze below, a narrow, blade-like shape trailing a thin line of smoke behind it as it moved. It wasn't rounded like a plane and had no wings catching the light. Angelina kept the camera on it the whole time, convinced she had just filmed a UFO. Four-cornered craft. A fighter pilot running a training drill high above Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada caught something on his cockpit camera that wasn't part of the exercise. A flat, dark object with four sharp corners appeared just off his side, gliding steadily against the clear blue sky. Three faint lights glowed beneath three of its corners, spaced evenly, like they were built that way on purpose. It held its shape and distance as it passed alongside the jet before falling behind. The pilot reported it right after landing, but nobody at the base could say what it actually was. Desert anomaly. Just a year ago, a man flying over the Mojave Desert in California was sitting quietly by the window when a strange line in the sand caught his eye. A thick trail of disturbed earth stretched for miles below, twisting and curling like something had carved it fresh into the ground. Curious, he turned on his camera and zoomed in, and that's when he spotted a dark, aircraft-like object moving fast just above the trail. After seeing the object, he became certain he had filmed a craft drilling across the desert floor. Extraterrestrial craft. On the 7th of March, 2023, a NASA scientist flying somewhere over Colorado looked out and noticed something unsettling hanging in the sky. It was a dark, curved object catching the light, its smooth black surface standing out clearly against the clouds. As he kept his camera on it, a bright orange glow began building underneath it, growing stronger by the second. Then, without warning, it shifted direction and shot off across the sky. Convinced by what he had witnessed, he shared the clip on Instagram, saying it was an extraterrestrial craft. T-shaped anomaly. A man flying over Kansas was filming the thick clouds outside his window when an odd shape drifted into frame. It looked like a T turned on its side, a solid horizontal bar with a narrow piece hanging straight down from its center, dark gray against the gray sky. At first, it just hovered there, holding perfectly still like it wasn't affected by the wind at all. Then, without warning, it slipped below the cloud line, disappearing from view. He shared the clip afterward, convinced he had caught a real UFO on camera. Dual sun. Just a month ago, a couple flying somewhere over the Carolinas were watching the sunset outside their window when something defying reality caught their eye. Sitting low between the clouds was a bright, glowing orange light, round and steady, almost like a second sun burning just beneath the real one still visible high above. They filmed it, unsure what they were looking at. If you have any idea what it was, then write it down in the comments section. Unidentified craft.
What the hell? What is that, Mom?
A man relaxing in his backyard in Amarillo, Texas, looked up and felt a chill when he spotted something drifting slowly across the clear blue sky. It was a large triangular shape, lined with bright white lights along its edges and glowing points at each corner. It moved at a slow, deliberate pace, nothing like a plane. Shaken, he called his mum, who identified it as a UFO.
Holy shit! What the is that?
What is happening?
UFO on a mission. A military pilot flying over Sukinichi, Russia, saw something he never expected outside his cockpit. A dark, flat, disc-shaped object appeared out of nowhere, its edge catching a bright flash of light as it moved. It rose steadily toward the jet, closing the distance fast enough to make him tense up, then just as suddenly slipped beneath the plane before vanishing from sight. Shaken, he brought the footage straight to his superiors after landing. Instead of answers, he was told to stay quiet about it, with one officer hinting it was a UFO on a classified mission. Mysterious spaceship. This clip created a lot of buzz online back in 2024. It showed a wide, disc-shaped object drifting through the hazy sky, its smooth silver body catching just enough sunlight to stand out against the clouds. A passenger flying somewhere over Missouri had spotted it through the window and started filming right away, watching it hold its flat, level shape as it moved. It didn't tilt or wobble like something caught in the wind. The clip spread fast, with viewers convinced it showed a real UFO caught mid-flight. Dark flying object. A man near Mexico City International Airport was filming a plane coming in for landing. As the aircraft dropped lower against the grey sky, something dark and fast cut across the frame beside it. It happened so quickly, he barely noticed at first, but when he replayed the footage, he saw it clearly. A dark, curved shape flying at a speed that didn't match the plane's slow descent at all. Curious, he shared the clip on YouTube, where one commenter dismissed it as a bird. What do you think? Foo Fighter.
This one is extremely low. It's loud.
Two friends leaving a grocery store in Little Rock, Arkansas one night were walking toward the parking lot when a strange humming sound stopped them in their tracks. Confused, they looked up and spotted something drifting above the clouds, a dark shape marked by a bright blue light glowing at its tip, with smaller red, green, and blue lights blinking steadily around its edges. It moved slowly and low, nothing like a plane cutting across the sky. They stood frozen, filming until it disappeared into the darkness, both convinced they had just witnessed a real alien aircraft.
That looks like a spaceship.
Extraterrestrial vehicle. One Friday night, a woman out for a walk in Sedona, Arizona, stopped in her tracks when something strange appeared against the dark clouds above her. It was a triangular shape, dark and pointed at its tip, with small white lights scattered along its underside that flickered on and off. It hung there for a moment before drifting slowly through the clouds. There had been rumors of UFO sightings around town for months, and after watching it herself, she felt certain she had just seen an alien aircraft. Sky portal. Back in 2020, a student flying back to his university after summer vacation looked out over the clouds above Ohio and spotted something he had never seen before. A faint, circular shape glowed softly against the white clouds below, its center bright and almost hollow, with faded hints of green and blue light rippling along its edges. It didn't move or drift as a cloud formation. Confused, he sent the clip to a friend, who told him it looked less like weather and more like some kind of portal opening in the sky. Drone sighting. A man walking home one night in Knoxville, Tennessee, heard a strange humming sound cutting through the dark sky above him. When he looked up, he froze at the sight of a bright yellow light streaking across the darkness at a speed that startled him. He fumbled for his phone, but by the time he hit record, the yellow light had faded, replaced by red and green lights sitting close together, with a faint light blinking between them. He kept filming, unsure if it was a UFO or a drone. Massive whirlpool. A passenger flying over the coast near Miami, Florida, was filming the ocean below when something strange broke the surface. Right in the middle of the calm water sat a massive, dark whirlpool, spinning round and round, pulling water down into its center like a drain with no bottom. It held its shape as the plane passed overhead, swirling steadily against the surrounding waves. He shared the clip on Instagram afterward, but viewers were uncertain about the authenticity of this clip. Anomalous sky phenomenon. On New Year's Eve, a man filming fireworks lighting up the sky from his balcony in Chicago, Illinois, noticed something odd caught in the corner of his video. Sitting still above the skyline was a small, dark, capsule-shaped object with a faint light blinking beneath it. While the fireworks kept bursting around it, the object never moved, holding its position like it was searching for a place to settle down. Looking at its shape and how it hovered, he was sure he had filmed a real UFO. Phoenix Sky Visitor.
What the is that?
A tourist heading toward the airport in Phoenix, Arizona, was riding in a taxi when something in the sky caught his attention. Hovering above Priest Drive was a massive, disc-shaped object, wide and smooth, with a curved dome rising slightly from its center, sitting still against the clouds. The taxi stopped at a red light, but the object stayed exactly where it was. Stunned, he asked the driver if he saw it too. The driver nodded, mentioning there had been reports of a strange object over the city just days earlier, calling it a possible UFO.
Like, that is the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life, bro.
Unknown sky drifter.
Kind of like a corner or something.
Before revealing what this was, watch it closely first. A pilot flying over the Gulf of Mexico at 35,000 feet noticed something strange gliding ahead of his aircraft and pulled out his camera to catch it from the cockpit. The object had a disc-shaped appearance with a dome extending from its center. It held a steady course, matching the plane's altitude without a single wobble. He kept filming until it pulled away. What he had captured, many believe, was a real UFO. Haunting sky streak. A passenger flying high above the clouds somewhere over Illinois spotted something unsettling outside the window. It had a long, sharp tip, dark and smoky in appearance, trailing a thin streak behind it as it moved. At first, it seemed to be heading straight toward the plane, holding its narrow shape steady against the blue sky. Then it shifted direction, curving off to one side. He zoomed in, watching closely, and realized what he had actually caught was another aircraft leaving behind a condensation trail. Shattered flight. Lucas Kim was flying to Thailand from his home in Seoul, South Korea, when something outside his window caught his attention. At first, it looked like just another plane flying far in the distance, so he pulled out his phone and started recording. But as he zoomed in, the shape suddenly broke apart, splitting into three smoky objects that spread out and moved on their own paths across the sky. What at first looked like one solid aircraft was never a plane at all. Shaken by what he had filmed, Lucas was left with no explanation for what he had just witnessed. Dirigible balloon. A passenger waiting for his flight at an airport in Orlando, Florida, noticed something odd drifting slowly in the sky and quickly pulled out his phone before it disappeared. Hovering high above the runway was a smooth, white, oval-shaped object, rounded on both ends with no visible wings or tail. It stayed locked in the same spot the entire time he filmed, not drifting an inch. Convinced it was something unusual, he showed the clip to airport staff afterward, but they brushed it off as a dirigible balloon. Bright sky streak. One stormy night, a pilot flying over the Bay of Bengal in Southeast Asia was filming the lightning rolling through the dark sky below. Then, without warning, a bright streak of blue and orange light shot straight down from above, cutting through the clouds like a blade before fading out just as fast. It moved too quickly and too straight to be lightning itself. He kept filming, hoping to catch another one, but the sky stayed dark. He was certain that it might have been a falling meteor. Open discussion. Flying high above the clouds over Texas, a passenger filmed something no one on board expected to see. Outside the window, there was an object with a strange star-shaped center, 5 thin wings stretching outward in perfect symmetry like blades frozen mid-spin. It moved steadily alongside the plane. He kept the camera locked on it, too stunned to look away, until it finally dropped back and vanished into the clouds below. To this day, he's convinced he filmed a real UFO, but I would like to know your take on it, so write it down in the comments section. And if this blew your mind, smash that like button and subscribe to WOW for your weekly dose of weird and wild. Before you go, drop in the comments, which one got you the most? Your picks help us find the next video. Like, subscribe, and let's keep building the weird side of the world together. Thank you so much for watching.